I want to talk about this for a moment because this is sort of interesting. The right-wing talking points of the day are centered around this opening by Adam Schiff. And I have mixed feelings about this. This is in the hearings yesterday. I want everybody to listen to this because in some respects, what Adam Schiff is doing is exactly what we know the president does and the right does. It is an acknowledgement that we live in different media universes and that the critique of what we say as politicians is almost irrelevant. Certainly in the context of like Trump or on the right, the critique is worn like a badge of honor. The center and the left, I think, is a little bit more concerned about these things. But here's Adam Schiff. He's opening up the hearing. And what he does is characterize the conversation between Donald Trump and the president of Ukraine.
The essence of what the president communicates. We've been very good to your country, very good. No other country has done as much as we have. But you know what? I don't see much reciprocity here. I hear what you want. I have a favor I want from you, though. And I'm going to say this only 7 times, so you better listen good. I want you to make up dirt on my political opponent, understand lots of it. On this and on that. I'm going to put you in touch with people, and not just any people. I'm going to put you in touch with Attorney General of the United States, my Attorney General, Bill Barr. He's got the whole weight of the American law enforcement behind him. And I'm going to put you in touch with Rudy. You're going to love him, trust me. You know what I'm asking, and so I'm only going to say this a few more times, in a few more ways. And by the way, don't call me again. I'll call you when you've done what I asked. This is, in character, what the president was trying to communicate with the president of Ukraine. It would be funny if it wasn't such a graphic portrayal of the president's oath of office.
All right, let's leave it there. And
still funny, but very effective of Schiff.
Right. Okay. I want you to keep that in mind with the funny, because I heard 2 right-wing talkers today saying like, well, like it was one of those, it was 2 guys on WABC. They're ancient. Talk about boomers. But the way that they were going back, just hold that thought for a moment and we'll get to it. But that is exactly what the essence of that call was. And the behavior that is outlined in this whistleblower report. That there are reports. I saw one reporter say, we had information that we never printed, that the reason why Mike Pence called off his trip to go to the inauguration of, is it Zelensky? And we sent instead the Secretary of Energy, I can't even remember his name now. What's that? Rick Perry. Is because Trump didn't want them to have the vice president there until he got the stuff he wanted about Joe Biden's corruption. And so that whole, like, you know, don't call me, I'll call you when you've done what I've asked you to do, is exactly what Trump was communicating. Now, the critique is like, he's making this up. It's an impeachment hearing. It's an impeachment hearing. How can he make that up and characterize it? Well, of course, he can. He wasn't going to read through the entire transcript, which again is not a verbatim transcript. But that is their talking point at the moment. And I just don't think it's going to work. It will work with their people. But we are living in a different era where we cannot expend energy in trying to get to their people. We need to expend energy in getting to our people. the rest of the people, the majority of the people, and tell them and educate them exactly as to what the president is doing. And I would say this is also the case more broadly in terms of politics as it exists, whether it's in the presidential campaign and just about questions of healthcare or, college debt or Wall Street or whatever it is, that trying to chase after their people who are in a hermetically sealed bubble comes at the expense of motivating the rest of the people. So Schiff could have gotten up there and not been so pithy and characterized it with a certain amount of satire. Like he said, it would have been funny if it wasn't so tragically accurate. But if he had done so to placate some notion of he should be more of a straight shooter from the right, he would fail to be able to communicate to people who might be marginal in terms of thinking this is important. And that dynamic is really important, I think, to understand, not just in the context of impeachment, but more broadly in American politics today, that it is not about persuasion. It is about motivation. How do you communicate to those people who are already predisposed to believing what you believe, that this is important and digestible? Okay, so on to the second point. So I'm listening to this radio show, and there's two boomers, and one is on the right, and the other is on the mostly, center right. But he's the Alan Combs type of figure. And then there, of course, is a woman who's on the show who basically steps in and you guys aren't PC. And it's that type of dynamic. It's really just tragic. But I will occasionally dip into right-wing radio on days like this to find out just what they're saying. This is a local show, but local New York. And so the guy, the right-winger, plays Schiff's thing, and he goes, "Can you believe this guy? He's lying. He's making it all up. That's not the transcript." And the other guy goes, "Just telling a joke." And as a reference to this statement that Donald Trump said at the UN, I think it is, right?
It's a UN sideline on threatening to kill journalists with General Sisi.
Right. This was apparently billed as a family event where people brought in their kids. Now, I don't know why you bring your kids in to listen to Donald Trump unless you really want to spend the next, 15 years trying to make them less cynical. But here is Donald Trump referring to the whistleblower, right? This is here we go.
Because that's close to a spy. I want to know who's the person that gave the whistleblower, who's the person that gave the whistleblower the information? Because that's close to a spy. You know what we used to do in the old days when we were smart, right? With spies and treason, right? We used to handle it a little differently than we do now.
Yeah. Now people start in the fuller clip, people start laughing after that a little bit, and the right wing DJ was like, "Well, people laughed at that one." Well, there you can hear people giggling actually at the at Schiff's couple of turns of phrases there.
Well, you can hear that. Also please, before people, I'm not making this comparison because I always feel the need to say this, but Idi Amin was a wit sometimes. Humor and irony does not mean that you're not doing something.
Right.
Right? Sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes he's saying in a funny way, "Will someone please rid me of this meddlesome priest?" He's saying it. Jacob Wall, Benjamin Dixon flagged the Jacob Wall thing. Jacob Wall is a relentless joke, but he's still talking about putting some type of price on finding out who this is or something, or, at least he was yesterday. I mean, and it's all a joke, but it's also a joke that's being
How about this?
spread by the president.
How about this for a joke? hey, Russia, if you're listening, I'd take those other 30,000 emails. And then the next day, Russian agents hack into an email server.
Oh, yeah. And different things are funny to people based on their societal context and the power dynamics and just like what they're into. Like I'm reminded of the show Dangerous Comedy with Larry Charles. Have you guys watched that?
No.
Where he interviews people all over the world in like really intense war-torn parts of the world, even about the things that they find funny, like General Butt Naked in I'm gonna mess up which country this is, but like a lot of these warlords and soldiers are like, oh, you know what's funny? Killing someone who's weaker than you. Ha ha ha.
I'm just saying, like, even that's interesting, but I'm just saying very specifically with these types of things, like you know, you can read, if you read about, you know, other examples of leaders in this mode, sometimes it is like, you know who is a real pain in the ass? And it's a chuckle, but it's also like a signal.
Yep.
It's, you know, it isn't just a chuckle.
Yep.